This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties this story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, G2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. This is Gary Clement from the Gary Clement Radio Show and Podcast. And today we have a gentleman in the house that I kind of sort of grew up with. He's from South Boston, Virginia, as well as myself. And it's very interesting how we actually connected or whatnot. But growing up, I was always interested in piano and listening to good gospel and R&B instrumental. And it was not until I got older that I had a chance to go see good musicians play live. And I was hooked because they could play everything. Today on the show, I'm honored to have a local artist whom I've had the opportunity to see live, enjoy hearing him play piano, synthesizers, guitar, as well as sing. He's a hard-working man, too, and he travels back and forth between North Carolina and Virginia, playing for a lot of churches and different ones. And he has a current project out, actually two that he actually sent me. One was Colors, and the other one is Audiomatic. So please help me welcome Mr. Ray Crawley.
Welcome. Hello. Glad to see you.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So first of all, just tell us about who you are and how you got your start in music very early on.
Well, as your introduction stated, we grew up in a small town in South Boston, which is oddly enough a small town, but it's in the third largest county in Virginia, which is Halifax County. And I grew up early in the 60s when Motown and rock was in its, pop music was in its infancy. And my story is I wasn't fast enough to, or strong enough to play football, and I wasn't tall enough to play basketball. So when I saw the Beatles in 1964 on Ed Sullivan, a weekly variety show that was popular back then, I said, I can do that. And that's sort of what started me. So I went from them into Motown, into gospel music, and I started writing and arranging and stuff like that. And it just ballooned from there.
Okay. So after high school, I know that you played, music in college as well. Just tell me about those experiences of going to college and how college actually changed your entire, how could you say, background in life or whatnot to go forward in music. Talk about that.
Sure. Well, in college, went to college, Virginia State University now. At that point, it was Virginia State College back in the mid-'70s. Which was when we say soul music actually grew up. And I started meeting people from everywhere, north, south, east, and west. So, of course, the northern sound, DC, Philly, all of that, they had a sound of their own, as it did the lower south with Stax, and Petersburg was sort of like a hub. College sent in the middle of that, so you had people coming in, and influences was started. The reason why I said music grew up, because it became, from where I came from in South Boston, it was more or less what I call gut bucket R&B. Your Johnny Taylors, your Isaac Hayes, your your blues southern singing, your James Brown, and that type of thing, as opposed to getting into college, and I minored in music. I started getting bombarded by the vocal singing groups, and the Philly sound was getting out there. Earth, Wind and Fire, groups like the horn bands like Kool and the Gang, um, all of that. Stevie Wonder was coming out with Music on My Mind and Higher Ground and Inner Vision. All of a sudden, from a small town where the 45s were the singles, more or less, sort of ran your life. You could get those for 98 cents. Now we're getting into a album thing. So instead of one artist doing one song that you like, you got to hear a whole wealth of things. And so by becoming friends and classmates of people from different areas, I started getting into jazz and Earth, Wind and Fire and Herbie Hancock and Ramsey Lewis and all those people, piano and then keyboard players. And with the vocal groups, we started singing. So I actually started a vocal group known as the Ebony Diamonds, and we started singing then, hoping to chase that record contract. And, that's what we did. And I wrote and arranged and sang with them for many years.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So the thing about being part of a band, you're, I guess, in a sense, working as an individual right now or as a solo artist or whatnot. What's the difference in that in regards to working with the band? Do you like that better or are you better by yourself?
Well, I tend to look at it. It's almost like you, in a band situation, you sort of become one part of a bigger meal. So what you do is sort of, hopefully your part in that meal tastes just as good as the rest of it, and doing it myself where you're the entire meal.
Right.
So you're the one responsible for making sure that it all tastes good.
Yeah.
You're not just the dessert or one part, you're not just the vegetables or something like that. But I like the idea of being in a band because you learn and pick up so many influences from different things. Currently, I'm actually doing a Earth, Wind and Fire tribute with a band known as September, which is here in North Carolina. I just started doing that a couple of months ago. After I finished my last solo project, which was Colors, which I did everything myself on that. And I met a couple of people, which led to this, which led to that. Guy said, if you want to try, we got a spot. Okay, if you want to do it. So now at this point, I'm sort of not playing anything, but now I'm the actual one of the three lead singers in that group. And being the oldest one, I remember all the songs. So everybody was saying, man, it's like this group was made for you. I said, well, I remember when these songs were brand new, that could be why.
Right. I hear you. Okay, cool. So as far as, trying to be a musician and also have a family, talk about the challenges of that.
I've always said that, music is such a personal thing. And if you do it long enough, there's a way that becomes, people know what you do and they know why you do it. And they, if you're fortunate enough to try to do that balance where people understand that, hey, if I'm doing a show, it's more like work. So, fortunately, you sort of plug yourself in, and once you're professional about it, and once it's, you make sure that it provides a benefit, both personally and enjoyment-wise. So, music is my passion. And well, as you know, I've been doing this for so long that everybody in my family knows that this is what I do. And that's how I do it and I figure if I'm making a good effort at it, it becomes something. It's just like people that play sports. You know, when they're not playing sports they're playing it for the passion and the fun of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it means well when your family can see that you're doing something that makes other people happy, and it makes them happy that you're happy. And that's how you and you try to keep it at that level, you know.
Right. I see. And it pays the bills too.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't want to leave that out. Yeah. And that helps keep the family together, right?
Oh, God. So, you know, and you grew up, you know, like you said, playing in church or whatnot. You know, when you listen to music or whatnot today, you know, the sound has changed a lot. You know, how do you get in and, you know, and basically bring yourself up to what's happening and stuff now, which is more contemporary, more, you know, what are you doing to,
you know,
kind of?
I listen. I still listen to the same, and being that there's so many avenues, and with technology now I can hear those older songs that I used to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear them with much more fidelity and much more cleaner now, instead of having to listen through scratches on a record.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I can now hear that. But the whole thing is, I see a resurgence of the newer music, mm-hmm. still reaching back to my era, mm-hmm. or our era of music. You know, take for example Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak doing the Silk Sonic thing.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why that hits so hard is because that music, although it may be put on a shelf somewhere, mm-hmm. it's still pulled out because it covers a wider spectrum. Everything is what a friend of mine calls now fast food music.
Okay.
You know, fast food music, which means you can go anywhere and get the same type of thing.
Right.
So I listen to it. I don't. My thing is, if I can write or arrange or produce some product that makes, and what it's all about, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Or makes me satisfied, I'm good. I mean, I really don't have to, because once you try to compete with another artist or what's out there now, or try to do what this person is doing, then you really start to get yourself in trouble, because you're not that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, you have always do what you come from, do what you know.
Right.
You know, and what better, we had some, I call them my influences. Mm-hmm. I call them my teachers, you know, my professors. And we had the best.
Right.
You know, Tom Bell, Maurice White, Quincy Jones, mm-hmm. All of those, you know, Isaac Hayes. Mm-hmm. You know, we had guys that could play, sing, and write, Stevie Wonder. So when you combine all of that, and not just in an R&B world, I listened to Burt Bacharach and mm-hmm. Andy Williams and all the guys, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, that whole type thing. So I know that music, you know, I still listen to that music because it was quality, mm-hmm. you know, mm-hmm. and those guys did what they knew,
right?
And they stuck with that. Mm-hmm. So they became, by doing that, you become an icon, mm-hmm. by sticking to your guns. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody, and I've heard it said in sports many times, it's not the basketball, mm-hmm. it's Michael Jordan. You know?
Right.
You can put on his jersey, play on his court, put on, wear his number, get his shoes, but you're not going to be Michael Jordan.
Right.
You know, so my thing is not to be, but if I can take a little bit from this one, take a little bit from that one, and that's how you learn.
Right, right.
And mm-hmm. and that's how you find out who you are.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You know, it's like the old mothers, You know, they never cooked out of cookbooks. You know, they took a pinch of this and a shake of this and a stir of this right here and a sip of that and put that in there and said, and if it tastes good, then all of a sudden you see it becomes their recipe.
Right.
You know, becomes their recipe.
Right. You know, it's interesting now too, because like it's a lot of your artists, like especially in the R&B world, like Escape and SWV and all these old groups. A lot of them, everybody's coming back doing a reunion tour and this kind of thing, and that that stuff now.
Yeah, because you can actually get tired of, your present. See, before when we were growing up, nobody wanted to sound the same. So therefore, you didn't get the same thing.
Right.
So now, with the powers that be and the music business, it's all about the same kind of TV show, the same kind of food, the same kind of restaurant, the same kind of artist, the same kind of comedy, the whole entertainment business is seeing who can do it better instead of who can do it differently and make it better.
Right. I see.
See, that back then, better was different, or different was better. Right. And so your top 5 bands. Just think about the bands in the 70s: Ohio Players, Earth, Wind and Fire, Commodores, Isley Brothers, Kool and the Gang. Top 5. Okay, so all of them could put out an album that week, same week, and everybody would have a hit.
Right.
Because Earth, Wind and Fire didn't sound, although they had the same lineups, many of them basically.
Right.
Earth, Wind and Fire didn't sound like the Isley Brothers. Isley didn't sound like Commodores. Commodores didn't sound like Kool and the Gang, and so forth and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this rap music and stuff now, where does your mind set there?
For me, it's like country and western. Wasn't something that I understand what they're doing with it. Not something that I could do. So it's sort of like somebody. It's like the president. It's like, I understand what you're doing, but I don't want to be president. So no, I don't want to rap.
Right.
I listen to it. I understand what's happening and I realize that's their thing, just like country and western, which once again, everything, now everything's blending. So it's all getting blended. So you don't know what's what. Half of your country artists now they call it contemporary country.
Yeah.
And they're using hip hop beats underneath, and they put an acoustic guitar on top of it and sing about the same thing. Their trucks and all of that. So,
I got you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So now, all right, are you still traveling back and forth between North Carolina and Virginia doing churches?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't do as many churches. I do it basically just one, and I play for all the singers there, the services there at the one church. I used to do a lot of weddings, and if somebody calls me to do a special event, I'll do that. I'm actually got a combo that I work with over there now that we are trying to get back together and try to reform some things. And, we're trying doing that old fashioned lineup, and we're playing some of those old fashioned songs and some new stuff too. Your Michael Jackson stuff, and we're doing some of the neo soul stuff like because we have a couple of female singers that sing with us as well. So we're doing from Michael Jackson to Jill Scott, from Erykah Badu to who's another one. It's just a different mixing bag, because everybody in the band come from different eras, from Erykah Badu to Marvin Gaye, so that type of thing.
Right. Okay. Because I was going to ask you too about, working with younger artists and stuff. Do you see the same kind of I could say talent there, the same kind of like tenacity, and they want to just eager and want to get in there and do it. Do you see that same
Good,
kind of, you know?
good question. They have the talent, they just don't have the history.
Okay. Okay.
You know, you see a guy who's 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he can play, can sing, but he couldn't name a Earth, Wind and Fire song except September.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't tell you his favorite Stevie Wonder album.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't know about Isaac Hayes. And just think about those artists that we've lost
That is
who
true.
are just
Right.
off the scene and not record. So they are, and radio once again, he just, plays, Spotify playlists, unless you know what you're listening to, eras of R&B and pop music are no longer, it's not about the song now, it's about the groove. So your younger people are, and younger people just don't have that history,
Mm-hmm.
where that stuff starts in like 1995. Well, come on, you got 20 years before that
Yeah. Right.
that had a wealth of different kind of music that they could have been exposed to that they now have to go back and learn.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So it's like applying for a job and somebody said, well, how much experience have you had?
Right.
You do good, you fill out the application, I love your resume, but have you ever done this kind of work before? Have you ever sung a Marvin Gaye tune?
Right.
Do you know about the OJs? Oh, yeah, the OJs had that song. And see, they know about it through sampling,
Right.
and that's all.
That's true.
Angie Stone did her I Wish using a sample from the OJ's Backstabbers. Well, that's, if they knew that's where that sample came from,
Right.
then they can have what I call a reference point. Most of your young artists have no reference point. They started with the Michael Jackson they started with the Thriller Michael Jackson. Where for me, that iteration of Michael Jackson didn't excite me that much because I had already been through 10 years of Michael Jackson.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. So now tell me, COVID-19, how did that affect what you do?
Oh, that's where that album came from, the Colors album.
Okay.
because not a lot was going on outside of your home. So you had time to sort of spend. And if you were in music, and I have my own studio set up here, so that my church had shut down a lot of times, and they had changed schedules at work. And so that was a 2-year period. And that album took about 6 months to make.
Okay.
And so I had the time, and I think a lot of people had COVID albums.
You're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, because now, okay, I can't go to the studio because, crowds and large gathering of large people. So now if you got your own home studio set up, now you got the time to actually work on something that you want to work on.
That's true. That's true.
Or some little pieces of this. Now you got time to finish it. You don't need to go to work but 3 days a week this time because they're cutting back on the schedule.
Right.
So now, and church is not having in-service technology has made it possible for them to do everything online.
Yeah.
Zoom calls and filming and that type of thing. So now, and then they're not having choirs, so I don't have to play.
Right.
Yeah. So now that 2 years or that year and a half of not going to South Boston to actually play at a physical church, I was able to get up on a Sunday and go in the studio and work for a couple of hours and take a break, eat lunch, and go back and listen and write some more. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Very good. So Colors, tell us about what's on this record exactly.
Colors was an interesting thing. I'm actually looking at the looking at a copy of it right here. It's interesting because the title song, Colors, is actually the last song on it.
Mm-hmm.
The last song that I recorded, which I was thinking about. I said, after I had finished all these songs, you go through a period. That was a year and a half.
Right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised how much your brain goes through. And while you're recording, well, these two songs were done 6 months ago.
Okay.
Now it's month number 5, and you're going, oh, my head's in a different place now. So those two songs don't fit. So
Mm-hmm.
you put them off and you write something new that does fit. And so I came up with these, and I didn't want to do an album with 12, 14 songs on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of overkill.
Yeah.
CDs happened with this. CDs did that. You remember the albums back in the day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had six good songs.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
You listen to 4 on one side, and you might have 2 long ones on the other side, or it might be 5 and 7. But so that's what I was thinking about. Just I said I'm gonna do 8 good songs, and I had 7.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went down to that part of, I said, oh, wow, I need one. Because, when you do your final selection and you mix them all down and you finish writing and you like how they sound good together, you say, wow, I need one more song. So while I was in that mode of listening to the other songs that went well together, I said, okay, let's write something that can tie all that together. And as you see on the cover, I went for a more artistic type thing. And that's where the idea of colors came from. And then so from a racial standpoint or thing, we all made of different colors and, all of that type of thing. So the concept, without it being a concept album, it was a concept for that song.
Cool. Very good. Okay. Because it looks like you have like 8 tracks and stuff here. Colors, Love's Touch,
Yeah.
Nighttime, Daydream, No Sweet.
Which was going to be the original title. I had that title for about 2 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And couldn't ever come up with anything that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually asking other musicians, they like the title. What does it sound like? I have no idea. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay. And you spoke about the technology piece though here, because I remember back, like I said, a couple of years ago, as COVID was actually in play, like you said, when everybody else went down and everybody else was losing money, won't making money, I remember dealing with manufacturers as well as music stores or whatnot that sell equipment, and those guys, there were certain things they couldn't keep in the store. Man, people was buying up everything.
Yeah, because people was buying this stuff. Okay, if I can get this piece of home studio gear,
Mm-hmm.
or people were setting up their own video. This is where your podcast thing grew.
Right.
Because now I can set up my studio, my lights, my microphone, my speakers, my mixer or whatever, my computer right there, and go like, okay, since I can't go anywhere, I don't have to go anywhere. I just section out of me a little place in my room there,
Mm-hmm.
and go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So now let me get in. So I'm sure your mail order manufacturers or your mail order places, their businesses was booming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Because you could, all of a sudden the deals start coming and you could get 2 of these for 1 of those and all of that. And in this day and time,
Mm-hmm.
with me in my studio, I got a bunch of virtual instruments,
Mm-hmm.
so I can recreate anything that I need to help produce the sound that I'm hearing in my head.
And you pretty much can sample whatever you don't have.
Yeah, but see now, even with sampling, and see, sampling to me never caught on with me. I tried it early on,
Mm-hmm.
but once again, I'm from what I don't even call it old school. I just call it my school.
Right. I see. Mm-hmm.
and and with sampling, you're just taking a sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're using that sound and it repeats, or you can do whatever you want with that sound and it just repeats. Okay. That's never going to, for me, it's not expressive enough. It may be for those kids who don't play
Mm-hmm.
and they can get a sample. Sample has everything that they need: a drum pattern, a 2 4 bar keyboard part with a guitar lick and a vocal line.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, that's a sample. I can slow it down, speed it up, rap over top of it. Production's done.
Right. Mm-hmm.
For me, um, as you heard on the album, there are horns and there's strings, there's synthesizer lines.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is to play it
Mm-hmm.
and to play it well. So then there's more of my expression, my personal expression comes out um, by how I'm producing it and how I'm playing it and how I'm arranging it.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Right. I got you. Okay. Well, but see, that's the other thing too, because like you said, you are a real musician. A lot of these kids and stuff now, some of them play, but more times
Yeah.
than none, like you said again, they sampling, they doing other things or whatnot, and they don't know the real, music, how to read music, how to do this, how to do. They don't know those things.
Right. And it's a history. And it's just like I said before, I was watching and I read a lot. I watch a lot of YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
with interviews. And I was listening one not too long ago, and God said, well, there are no heroes today.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the guys I grew up with wanted to, and it didn't matter whether it was sports or entertainment or uh, musicianship or singing or vocalist. Wow, I really like how Jimi Hendrix plays.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play just like him. I want to sing just like Aretha Franklin. I want to be able to play drums just like Buddy Miles. Um, I want to play keyboards like Herbie Hancock or Ramsey Lewis or Billy Preston or somebody like that. And now, so they got people to copy and say, I want to be like. You don't hear that now because, like I said, the artist is not a focal point, and music has become a background thing for a lot of people. They don't really care about who's doing it. They couldn't tell you who was it. Like for us, you pick up an album, and you used to be able to pick up an album, and you said, "Oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
Grover Washington is playing. Lionel Richie wrote this for Kenny Rogers. It's got to be good." So now here's a black guy. I'm going to pick up a Kenny Rogers album, and I'm going to vibe off of that.
Right. I hear you. Right.
And it's like, Billy Preston's playing keyboards on this.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Graham's is playing bass on Raphael Sadiq's album.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Wonder has a solo in this. Maurice White is singing background vocals on this person's album. So you got this blend of artistic perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Just is like I was talking about earlier about the recipe and the meals. Now you got real musicians playing with other real musicians to make something totally different but unique, and you already know it's going to be good.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Right. Okay. Well, all right. So for people that want to pick up your music, they want to get in touch with you, what are your social media connections?
Social media, they can pick up the music on Spotify. It's on Amazon. They can pick up some of my earlier stuff. They can pick up the older stuff. Just go to amazonmusic.com. They can find it there. They can download it from Spotify. All of those, and there are a bunch of others that I can't recall them all right now because the distribution company just sends it out wherever they want to go. Or they can get in touch with me directly.
Okay.
Or they can call you up. You know, and but yeah, that's how. Because I don't, although I like social media, I'm not, I don't feel a need to try to, doing that hustle at this stage in the game.
I see.
I just want people to get what they like and enjoy what they get.
We really do appreciate our guests who participated in this episode, and we hope you learned something that will bless your day and your life. For all who are interested in learning more about the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, please visit www.amazon.com and order my book, The Gary Clement Radio Show, When Strong Afro-American Men and Women Stand Up. It covers everything about us and features a variety of Afro-American personalities who speak out about the importance of education and literacy in the Black community. Well, we thank you for tuning into our podcast. Please send us your email address so we can contact you when we have new releases and new episodes and new projects as well. You can reach us at gccpresents@yahoo.com. And also, if you're interested in submitting any materials or want to get in touch with us, please do so by simply sending an email to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, presents@yahoo.com. So until next time, do take care. And this is a G2 Network Media production.